Okay.
I would like. Can you hear me all right?
Yes. Yes, I can.
Perfect. I've been having trouble with my computer mic, so I'm trying on something a little different. So
Ah,
perfect.
I see.
Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to this week's Success Story Friday. Our featured story this week is Nerdy. So Nerdy, I appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, this is dope. Thanks for having me.
I really am looking forward to this one. I follow you on Instagram. I've seen you a couple times live in concert. So I'm really excited for this one. You have a lot to share with my students. So I
Super.
really appreciate your time.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, like I said. And it's been weird, not being out in the world like normal, but we make the best of it.
Isn't this weird how we interact with people right now? Like, I get excited for, Zoom hangout with my friends because that's how we can hang out right now.
Yep, that's what we do now. It's just we hang out on Zoom. It's
But
dope in its own way.
I can't imagine having to do this like 20 years ago. Can you imagine if we didn't have high-speed internet, if we're back on dial-up days where you had to wait to see if you could get on the internet?
Yo, that would have been wild. I had AOL online for a little bit, and I would not have liked that.
I I am old enough to remember my buddy had internet way before I did, and I'd go over to his house and we would try to use, one of the few websites that were out, and we're like, please, right after school, it's like, please don't, not too many people on internet.
Yeah, exactly.
And you get that long tone, and you're like, oh, I guess I don't get to use internet today.
Yeah, no, it's definitely we are in the best version of this that we could be.
So it's interesting how things work out. I can't imagine, many years ago what we'd be doing right now, like how education would be, how I'd be teaching my students right now without technology. So I am grateful for the technology.
Same, same. It's nice. I can still do concerts from time to time. It's not. We can still do things. It's just you have to be a little clever.
And it will be interesting to see what comes out of this, how
Mhm.
society has changed once we come out of this, and things we've taken away, and how education will have changed, and how just day-to-day operations will have changed. Because I think we have realized a lot of things that we did in normal day could be improved and changed upon. So it will be interesting, all the good things that came out of a bad situation.
Yeah, for real, for real.
So I've told my students a little bit about you. Each week I send out an announcement video kind of highlighting what we're going to do for this week. So I've told them a little bit about your background, a little bit about you. But you want to start with how you got into where you're at now, how you got into hip hop. Where did this all start for you?
Yeah. So I have always been into hip hop, like listening to hip hop. It's always been something I enjoy. However, I started doing hip hop as far as like performing myself only about like 2 years ago. I signed up for an open mic through Go 95.3 FM. They have an open mic, or they had an open mic. Currently, it's not going on, obviously, but they had an open mic called Shut Up and Rap, where they would have people come in and rap and do their own songs. And I decided to sign up for it as like a joke because I was in a rock band actually. I played keys, and I thought it would be fun to just like, oh, I'll do this, and it'll bring some light to the band or whatever. And then I just fell in love with it. And after talking to Mr. Peter Parker for a little bit, he kind of encouraged me to like, if I wanted to do this, I just had to put both feet in it. And so, yeah, I just dove, I should say, head first into doing hip hop. And since then, it's just been one thing after another, after another. I've been able to do stuff like Soundset. I toured with Brother Ali. I've been doing shows all over the country. Right now, I'm currently home because, everybody is. But yeah, hip hop, it's been a wonderful experience. Being able to do this full time is pretty crazy.
I was really surprised because a friend of mine posted your stuff a bunch on Instagram, like as background sounds to your Instagram stories. And then the first concert I saw you at was when you performed with Breeze at Fine Line a couple months ago. And I was really surprised. I didn't know at that point, I thought, you've been doing this for a while. And then when I found out you've only been doing it for a couple of years, I was really surprised because you seem like a seasoned veteran doing hip hop up on the stage because of how amazing your performance and how high energy your performance was. I was really surprised that, once I started learning more about your background, that you only started a few years ago. So I was really impressed with that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's a lot of work. Theater helped. I was in theater in high school and in college. So getting like into theaters really kind of helped with stage presence.
I can see that. Now that you say that, it makes really sense because you put on a show. It's not just you up there performing. It's you up there putting on a show, and you engage the audience and make it fun for everyone.
Yeah, it's the difference between just an all right show and a show people are going to pay top dollar for. You really want to make sure you're providing a whole experience for people.
And then one of the big concerts you got to do First Ave, right?
Mm-hmm. I've done First Ave now a couple of times. The First Ave main room. I think I've played the main room now 3 times. I remember I played it 3 times in 1 week. That was the craziest thing, but it been a total of 4 times.
Holy, that is. I know how hard. I have a few other friends that have had the opportunity to play, main room, and that's quite an accomplishment. So kudos to you because there's a lot of history on that stage.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that have come through there. From Prince on, like that is amazing that you got to do it 4 times. How did that come about?
Well, the first time I performed there was with Brother Ali. So we were on tour, and one of the stops was First Ave main room. So it was really cool to just be able to do that with him. And then there was the First Ave holiday party or end of the year party. The staff picks who they want to perform, and I was one of the performers that they had asked for, so I got to be a part of that. And then there was the Best New Band show, Best New Bands of 2020. So I headlined that event with my whole band as well. And then there was a Minnesota advertising company. Like all the advertising companies get together and do like a fundraiser for youth trying to get into advertising and marketing and communications. And they have Battle of the Bands, and I was one of the special guest musicians. So I played there as well. So it was all these times kind of worked out just from being in the right place at the right time, putting on a good show, and having people say, "Oh my gosh, I want to see more of this dude." So.
And I highly recommend. There's a few of my students that are in the live interview right now, but I will also be posting this to all my classes for them to watch afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So any of my students that haven't had the opportunity to go to either, like Fine Line or First Ave or 7th Street Entry, I'm trying to think. Turf Club isn't around. Or is it
close? But like it is owned by First Ave.
Yep. There's a lot of live local music and a lot of great venues around here that you can get into and see, the local scene for music because it is live and it is very strong in Minneapolis.
Yeah, no, for real. It is bumping. It is bumping.
I always enjoy when going to different music festivals and there's Minnesota bands there. I've gone over to Riot Fest in Chicago and they had a couple of Minnesota bands playing, and Rock Fest in Wisconsin, they've had Minnesota, local. So it's always fun to see when you go throughout the Midwest and see the music scene from Minneapolis alive and well.
Yeah, it's always dope.
Where's your favorite place to perform around Minnesota?
I mean, I really do love First Ave main room, so I think that might be one of my top. Around Minnesota, outside of the Twin Cities area, there is I know a lot of people know the Garage. I started playing at the Garage in Burnsville for the longest time. I know it has its charm to it. I don't know. I haven't been there in a minute, so I don't know if it's still like the same kind of vibe that it was when I was really going through there. But I remember the Garage being super fun to play at. And then outside of that, I really like Fifth Element is closed down, so that was a really fun place to play, but now that is closed down, so that would have been one of my options, also, Fifth Element, but it is currently one of the casualties of COVID-19, so we'll see if another place takes its spot. as another cool place to perform.
And like you said, all through the state, there's these little venues and different venues that
Mhm.
it is fun. I I've been getting a little more and more of the scene. I'm lucky my girlfriend follows a lot of different, more local places, and she
Mhm.
she's like, "Hey, let's go here." So, like the garage. Like the first time I went there, I was expecting something way different because it's called the garage, and like
Mhm.
I showed up a little late, and it's like, "Am I in the right spot?" Like pulling in because like you see like the police department and everything. It's like, "Am
Yeah.
I in the right spot?" And then you go inside, and it's like, "Hey, this is actually a pretty cool place."
Yeah, no, it's pretty dope, and they give a lot of opportunities to young artists that are looking to like cut their teeth on the stage, and I think that's super important. The best way you learn is by doing. So, getting up on the stage and just like being in front of a crowd, anytime you get an opportunity to do that is positive, at least in my opinion. So, yeah, I think the garage is a wonderful place, especially if you're just starting out. It's super great.
What advice would you have for students? Like, say we have students that want to start out in a music career or, start somewhere. Maybe they're sitting in their basement and playing music in their basement and say, hey, maybe I want to do this a little more. What advice do you have for students like that?
I would say ask yourself what type of artist you want to be, and see if there are any parallels that already exist. So if you want to be a hip hop artist, ask yourself like what kind of hip hop artist do you want to be, and try to find other hip hop artists like that. And when you do, you can try to track their success. See where they started, how they started, any particular things that they used or tricks that they tried, and just learn kind of how the business side works of things. If you're looking to make a career out of it, it's really important that you know how to market yourself. So finding someone that is similar to you, obviously they're not going to be the same as you, but similar to you, and then just kind of like finding out, oh, I wonder who likes them, or I wonder where they go, or who they've been talking to. That is a super helpful thing to get started. And then honestly, good advice is just be bad for a little bit. Like that's okay. Like don't work. Don't you don't have to be perfect right away. No one's expecting you to be perfect right out the gate. What you can do is make music, beginning, middle, and end music. Make it, record it, even if it's on your phone, even if it's bad. Put it together and get it out there for people, and then just keep doing it. It's repetition, it's growth by doing. It's trial by fire. Honestly, I remember my first uh, little mixtape that I made, and I didn't tell anybody I was making it. I just made it and I put it out there for people to listen to, and I learned from all the things I didn't like on it, and then I made the next one and the next one, and then it keeps getting better from there. So yeah, just do it. Just go out and do it. It doesn't have to be great, and find out who you want to be like, and just try to learn from them.
I always like when artists put out those, beginning years videos or mixtapes, and
Yeah.
it's fun to see like, their high school talent show where they started and it's where they're at now. Because like
Mhm.
a big one that comes to mind for that is Green Day, because Green Day started back in high school. So like you see pretty much the whole band playing at a high school talent show, and to
Mhm.
where they're at now, it's crazy. But like you said, they started, they did it, and they kept going and they kept improving, and now they're touring and selling out big stadiums.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting, 5, 10 years from now, you to look back on that mixtape and see
Mhm.
how much you've grown and see that growth and
Yeah.
that trial by fire.
Now is the time to really get into it too. When you're young and you have a lot of friends that are all connected to you on all the social medias, like trust me, when you get in, once you get into like college age and on, people stop wanting to help you out just because they're friends with you. Like they're just like, no, I got other stuff to do. So like, take advantage of the time you have now. And what I always tell young artists is, above all else, be kind and be respectful, because a lot of the people that are going to open the doors for you would rather work with someone who's nice and kind than someone who's crazy talented, because they don't get anything out of that. So just make sure that every person you talk to, how you interact with people when you're representing yourself as an artist, that you do it with kindness and respect, because that will be what people respond to. And then they'll like your music more because you seem like a cool person.
That is awesome advice. And I also impressed with, how active you are on social media, how active you are with actually responding to people and reaching out to people. and thanking people. And it comes through, as a person that admires your work, it comes through on my side, seeing that. And it's really neat to see. And even in your music, that kindness and upbeat comes through in your music. I'm really impressed. On your website, you talk about how in your music you won't swear,
Mm.
and if that's a deal breaker, well, but I find it really cool that you put through your music without having to constantly curse, because it seems like a lot of music that are put out these days is just curse word after curse word, and just there's no real substance to it. So I'm really impressed with your lyrics and how you found and been able to do that.
Yeah, I've always kind of wanted to do music the way that speaks to me. I know that, and I always try to like make sure to say that like I know that some people like a curse word, when someone using a curse word is what it is. A lot of times I feel like it is just like they could find another way to say what they want to say. But it's not a barometer for morality. There's a lot of good people who use curse words, but the idea is that if you don't have to and you can try and find your way to say what you want to say without doing it, how many more people would like you? How many more people can you reach? How many more people can you talk to? Like no one's ever turned off a song for being too clean or too like respectful. Like so you will end up getting more fans that way. If you create quality music that's not going to immediately just alienate a whole bunch of people. It's just a smarter business decision, even outside of like me personally not wanting to do it. Like it's just a smarter business decision overall to kind of be able to hit more demographics that way. So it's really and I thank you for saying that like you respond to me being able to thank people and it's a part of it because I love it. I love doing this. I love doing music full time, and it's the fans, it's the people that enjoy the music that makes it happen. So you want to take the time out of your day to just be cool with them, or else, like, what are you? Why else are you doing this?
I've told my students, because I teach auto, and some of my students are going to go on to working in shops. A lot of them are going to go else to other things. But without that customer, we don't have jobs.
Exactly.
In the automotive industry, if I don't have cars and customers coming through that door, I don't have a job. So without customers, there's nothing. And I really wish I could memorize this, like a paragraph long of a quote from Gandhi about that. And I one time looked at buying my own shop, so I went through writing all the business proposal and what makes you different. And it's the customer. And that was going to be my focus, because just like you say, without that customer or your fan base, you don't have a job, you don't have a career.
Exactly.
So they are the lifeline of what we want to do as a job or career. So it's great that you look at it, at your side, because it's famous bands or even athletes or famous people that don't have the time of day for their fans, but they don't realize that that's who's actually paying their paycheck.
Exactly. I think it's a weird like what there's going to be a time if you get super mega famous that yeah you have millions of fans and it's really hard to reach out to all of them all the time, and once you get to that point you can try to make systems in place to like reach out to those people as you can, sure, but until you get to that point where you physically don't have enough time in the day, you should at least try and make some time out of your day to express to the people who support you how much you appreciate it. And that's not just as a musician, but that's just in general. Whatever you're trying to do in life, you're going to get farther if you take a little bit of time out of your day to thank and show appreciation to the people that support you.
We talked a little bit about your different songs and how you keep them clean, but where do you find the inspiration for your songs? I know you written a couple during quarantine.
Yeah, I had a whole EP about quarantine. I kind of called "Trapped in My Room" that's on like all the streaming sites right now, and that was that. It was just it was just quarantine and just trying to make music to keep myself sane during that time. But a lot of the times when I write music, it's either about life experiences or experiences of life that other people have had that I've been close to, or just like weird stuff like cartoons and video games and my friends and things of that nature. Like nothing is off limits. Anything that has happened in my life or in adjacent to my life is something that I know I can make music about if I really want to. And so that's kind of like, that's been where I get my inspiration from.
And I'm guessing you said you played keys in a rock band before you switched to hip hop. So I'm guessing that skills from, I'm guessing if I had to guess, you grew up playing piano?
Mm-mm. No, I taught myself how to play piano when I was around 13, 12, 13. I just, there was a piano at my church that I used to go to, and I remember one day I was just like hitting buttons on it, and some lady came by and was like, "Hey, if you don't know how to play it, you should stop making noise on it." And I was like, "Okay, I'll show you. I'll just figure it out then." Like, how else would you know how to play it if you've never done it before? So then I just started pressing buttons on it until it started making sense to me.
That is awesome. When I was younger, I had to go to church a bunch with my family because we went through and sharpened the pencils in the pew. That was the job, and I didn't like to go through and fill and sharpen pencils. So they got a brand new baby grand piano. So I'm like, I'd rather play around with the baby grand piano.
Yeah.
And I just sit down, and I grew up playing musical instruments, but never piano. And I just by ear start playing different melodies, and it was fun because Baby Ground sounds so fun. So that's awesome that you went from there and kept going. And
yeah, it's just one of those things where you, I first of all, never let anybody tell you the odds. Like, never let it tell you that something's completely impossible for you. If it's really a passion for it, just work at it. It might take a lot of work, sure. Like, it took a lot of time for me to learn how to be decent, but it is certainly everybody can learn how to do it, especially when you're young. You have a lot more time, and also, like, your brains work better for learning. Like, if you were to tell me now to try and learn how to play the bassoon or something, I don't really. I can try my best. Like, it would take a huge effort. It'd be like, I'll give you $5 million if you learn the bassoon, and then trust me, I'd be playing it. Something like that.
That is awesome. So pretty much your whole hip hop has been self-taught.
Yeah.
You started playing piano, self-taught. You went and did hip hop on a whim for the contests and self-taught. So that is quite impressive.
It's been cool. Like, I love doing things that make me happy. So it's fun to be able to make a living off of that.
That is the goal in life, is to have a way to be happy all the time and make money off of it. That you can afford to live. That is the goal.
That's what we all shoot for, at least something close to it.
What has inspired you to succeed at the level you have?
A lot of things have inspired me to succeed. I know that my desire to do this for a living and be able to provide for my family and the people that I care about, that is a big motivator for me. Also, I want to make the world a little bit more positive place. I know it's a bit of like a grand gesture, but by doing work and by spreading a positive message and trying to help people achieve their goals in a positive way, I feel like I have found inspiration to continue making music. Also, me making music is fun, so it's always fun to do something that's fun. But I think lastly, things that have inspired me to continue in my success is that the more successful I am, the more likely people will listen to what I have to say, and I'll be able to help more people by being more successful. Because people will want to hear what I have to say, and then I can say stuff like, "Hey, make sure you're kind and respectful when you're doing stuff," and "Hey, let's all like be better people when we're working on this," or "Hey, maybe it's cool to take the language that's a little more violent or a little less helpful, and maybe tune that out a bit, and let's put more positivity out there," and people are more likely to listen.
And to touch on that, you live that day in and day out because you started the Minnesota Artist Relief Fund. Did I pronounce that right and have the right name?
Artist Relief, yeah.
So Nerdy actually started concerts in his home because a lot of artists like you in Minnesota right now can't perform, and that's how they make their living. And with all the restaurants and bars and everywhere you perform shut down, you're out of a paycheck. And you had gigs lined up, you had a lot of stuff already booked out because you booked in advance, get canceled. So you in your apartment hosted concerts, and the first one you had, was it you and 4 or 5 other artists?
Yeah, we had I think I mean, we had people cycle in and out because obviously we didn't want to have so many people in the apartment all at once. But I think we had a total of 10 artists come through that day, and we managed to raise over $1,200.
And it was a lot of fun. That one I was able to have on in the background, enjoy it throughout the day, just have the live music. So kudos to you and finding a way to keep surviving and finding different ways to succeed in times like this and help others. So your attitude about doing better and helping others has definitely come through, through the relief fund and helping others and sharing the positivity. So it's amazing that you've taken this situation and kept going.
We try. That's what we do. That's what we do our best to try and do.
And it's fun for others. You had, like you said, you raised 1,200. There was a lot of people streaming it that day, and it was people were able to get out of what their situation was for a little bit and enjoy some music.
Yeah, which is so great. Like every live concert we've done, we've been able to help people and put food in people's homes, gas in their cars, keep their phones on. Like the ability to just be able to hand people money because it's like, hey, right now I know it's tough. I know it's hard to be doing music right now, but here's a little something that could help you to keep going and keep making music for everybody. I think that's it's super awesome. And so, yeah, I was happy to be able to do that because I knew that if no one else was going to do it, then I really should do it. So it was really important to me.
You just kind of said one of your last posts on Instagram had a really neat quote that I really liked. That you said your grandfather said, and you quote your grandfather saying, "If nobody did it for you, do it for others."
Yeah, that was a huge thing that my grandfather would tell me. In general, it would be something like, "Oh man, like nobody picked me to play basketball," and he would say, "Well, if nobody picked you, when it's your turn to pick, make sure you pick someone that doesn't get picked." If we're working and it's like, oh man, nobody seems to be working hard on this thing, on a project, I feel like I'm doing all the work. He's like, well, if you're in a project with someone else, then it's your responsibility to work really hard so they don't feel that same way. And then in this sort of situation where someone's in need, it's like, yeah, maybe you were in need one time and nobody helped you, or you were in need and it didn't seem like you were getting a lot of support. Well, that's unfortunate, but you know what? You have the opportunity, you have the time now that you can help somebody else so they don't have to feel that way. And my grandfather, and that's coming up from being an immigrant, being a Jamaican immigrant to the United States in a time where not only was being Black not the most fun thing to be in America, but just like being foreign was harder even than it is now. And he was like, yeah, you know what? This is really tough. This is really hard, but I want to live and I'm going to work and I'm going to do a lot of hard work so that my kids and the grandkids aren't going to have to feel some of the things that I'm feeling right now. And that's what he instilled in me. And so, yeah, like I wanted to be able to, some say it's the golden rule, do unto others. Like that's kind of my bit. I'm going to take my music and I'm going to try to find a way to help others. Because I want them to feel supported, especially in this time.
I really like that quote, and I'm glad you posted it because I'm going to add that to my arsenal of things in my brain because I really like the saying because it's simple and it makes sense. I've tried to whittle down rules in my classroom to 6 core values to live by, and I'm thinking that this might have to replace one of them because I really like it.
Hey, my grandfather was a smart dude. There's a reason why I'm still saying it.
It is amazing what our grandparents, what they had to go through. They lived in a different time, and the wisdom they had to distill upon us. Because like my grandfather always told me, if all I ever do in life is push a broom, be the best broom pusher I could ever be.
That's that wisdom. That's that wisdom that the grandparents can give you. if I'm ever a grandparent, I just hope I can say something wise as that, because I'm always gonna be like, yo, don't let anybody, like, always use the knife in Call of Duty. I know people might clown you, but don't let them get upset. Always watch their mini map. Like, those are the things that I would be saying to my grandkids, and they'd be like, "We don't know what you're talking about, grand."
But maybe that is our wisdom from our generation to bestow, and like when our grandparents were our age, they're just like, I don't know what you're talking about, pushing a broom,
What is this? I don't know. Yeah, but that's gonna be my thing. Always save your games. Always save your games. If you see a save point, use it. Don't worry about it. Just use it.
And under 2 files. Don't always save on the same file over and over again. Save on the 2. They give you several different file spaces for a reason.
Yep.
I've had that happen several times. You get so far in a game and that one file becomes corrupt, and I didn't save in 2 spots. So then I had to start over. So save in 2 spots.
Save in 2 spots. That's the wisdom. That's the wisdom we'll bring. I'm excited for that.
We'll just tell our grandkids nothing else besides, remember, kid, save in 2 spots.
Save 2 spots. Save in 2 spots. Check your mini map. Those are the things.
I like it. That is great wisdom to bestow on future. We do have a few students and actually other faculty members in here. I'm going to pause for a second to see if any of them have questions to ask of you.
Sweet. Yeah. Let's
So
rock.
if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in.
I like answering questions.
We'll see. I'm hoping they're all typing as fast as they can. I'll start asking another one as we wait. How did you come up with the name Nerdy?
Oh yeah, Nerdy came about when I was in school. Was like middle school and onward. I got called Nerdy a lot. Like, you're a nerdy person, like you're nerdy, and they kind of made it seem like it was like a negative thing. And then when I started doing hip hop, I was like, oh, well, that is who I am. It is what I am. I am a nerdy person, but why is that negative? And then so I started calling myself Nerdy. Originally, it was NER-D, but every time you would type that into Google, Pharrell's name would come up. Like, Ed Pharrell's band would come up, so I changed it to NUR-D, which didn't have anybody on it, and so it worked out really well.
That is awesome. Yeah. I also really liked at your first AF show, you all wore Looney Tunes.
Yes, that was so fun.
That was a good. I somehow missed about that concert, and I'm really sad I missed that. So I got to pay more attention to social media to make it to your next one.
You got to catch it. Yep. Like, we post, so it's pretty fun.
Yeah. Once we come out of this quarantine. So the first question is, the student sees that you have a song called Tyler Breeze. Did you or do you watch WWE?
Oh, yes. I watch WWE. First of all, the Fashion Police, Tyler Breeze, is amazing. Tyler Breeze is one of my favorite wrestlers. He should have been NXT champion. They did my boy dirty. He should definitely be more. I also watch Up, Up, Down, Down on YouTube, so I see Tyler Breeze and Xavier Woods and all those people on the regular. But yes, I currently do watch WWE. My girl Asuka, you can't see it from where you are right now. Maybe you can. Oh, wait, hold on. 1 second. I will show you. I got my Asuka mask that I made for a WWE show when they came through. My girl Asuka, WWE Raw Women's Champion. She's the bomb. She should be champion all the time. So yeah, I watch WWE quite a bit. You'll hear other references in my music. Professional wrestling.
I happened to go past it the other night, like Raw, because they're still doing it like down in Florida with no one there. Yep, I'm just like, weird. That would have to be, and just like you're performing a concert in your apartment with no one there. I'm like, that has to be the weirdest experience ever, because you feed off that energy of the crowd.
Yep, it's a big part of wrestling and the performing is to is the people and and screaming and yes, yes, yes. So having that gone has got to be a real interesting concept. Uh, it'll be really exciting when everybody comes back and when we slowly but surely can start adding more people to these events. I'm really excited for that because there is an atmosphere to it, especially as a musician. Me, I'm like, I miss a crowd. I miss performing in front of people. So we'll get there, but it is definitely weird without them.
But hopefully, once we come out of quarantine, everybody's going to be so excited to be back out that
Yeah,
it's going to be the most crazy crowds you've ever
that's what
seen.
I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping.
The next question we have is any words of encouragement for our graduating seniors? They have missed out on so much this year.
Ooh.
How do they use this to overcome and I can't not preserve. I can't speak today in life.
Persevere. Yeah, I got you.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
got you. Yeah, wow. I can't imagine. First off, I want to acknowledge for the seniors of 2020. I want to acknowledge to all of you that this is a crappy situation. Like you have inherited this moment in time where it's unprecedented and you are missing out on some stuff. And so I don't want to make it seem like, oh, it's not a big deal or oh, whatever. It is a big deal. And so it's okay to feel sad about that. It's okay to be disappointed. But another thing that I want to encourage you on as you continue on as going forward is that you, outside of almost every other generation over the year, have a connecting story. You are connected with people all across the country in this one time and place. You'll have these stories for the rest of your lives. And you still have all your education, you still have all the friends and the memories you have, and now you have this story, this singular point in time that no one else can take away from you, that no one else is going to be able to truly relate to, and you have the ability to use that to create particular art, particular music, or even just connections with other people. It is rare to find something special and unique in this world. And for you seniors, 2020 seniors, you have it. You have something unique and special that only you have. And I think to find ways to make that more yours is a great opportunity. And I suggest you all reach into your imaginations and try to find a way to do that because there's going to be people all across the country with stories that you guys can share and nobody else can. I think that's pretty cool.
That is great words to encourage these seniors. It is an interesting time that nobody, in recent times has ever had to deal with. This is completely new territory for everyone. So they can draw on it. They go to a job interview. It's like, well, name one of the time questions asked all the time on job interviews is name a time you overcame something. Well, now the seniors have. I graduated in 2020 and just end it there. Be like, the rest.
You know the rest. Like, yeah, you 2020 seniors, you are a special breed. You've been asked to give so much for the world, and your strength that's coming from that. Like, I believe that good deeds and sacrifice will come back around. And for you to have this, I can only imagine super amazing things are coming your way in ways that we couldn't even understand. So I think, yeah, you're gonna have some stuff that's come up for you and just for you. I think that's bomb.
Jenny Moore, who is our career pathway coordinator at our school, so her job is to help kids anything job related. So if a student wants to be a welder, if they want to be a marine biologist, anything and anything for jobs, her job is we help students find that pathway. So say somebody wanted to be an artist, we'd say, okay, what can we do to help? We start looking and maybe reach out to somebody like you and say, hey, we got this student, can you help them? So that's her whole job. And she said, you should totally be a motivational speaker. I'm going into the weekend with all your words in mind. Thank you for exclamation points.
Oh my goodness, that's so nice of you. I feel like I could do a motivation speaker. I feel like I don't have a cool enough gimmick. A lot of times you got to have like a thing, like I'm a magician and I'll pull a rabbit out of a hat that won't succeed. I don't know. I don't have
You,
anything.
you could stand up there with your keyboard and play music and sing, and then
You know what? I guess that is something. That is that. You know what? I can rap. Thank you, Jennifer. I could rap my motivation. That is very true.
And then the other question we have is favorite wrestler of all time.
Oof. You hit me with a tough one. You hit me with a tough question. I'm gonna say that my favorite wrestler of all time is the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, people's champ, The Rock. Can't do the eyebrow. The Rock is my favorite wrestler of all time. He's so amazing. That there's a reason why he's the best. There's a reason why he's so successful now. It's because he is fantastic. He's funny. He's charismatic. He's massive, and he just has a thing about him. The most electrifying man in sports and entertainment. If you smell what The Rock is cooking and anyway, so yeah, he's my favorite. If a close second, or at least another really great wrestler, my top five would be The Rock, Macho Man Randy Savage, John Cena. I like Finn Balor a whole lot, and maybe the Hurricane. Those would be my five.
Back when The Rock and Stone Cold and The Big Show, I had a friend that was really big into wrestling, and that's why I know a little bit of wrestling. And watching those guys, it was electrifying. It was quite entertaining. They were good entertainers. Like
they really, there was a time, and I believe it could come again, but there was a bubble of professional wrestling where it was like these amazing group of people, this huge group of people, not unlike the amazing class of 2020. Look at that, right back at you. They really did just do excellent work.
It was great entertainment. They were good at what they did.
They were great at what they did, exactly.
They were good at their craft.
Yep. If you could sell a whole sold out Madison Square Garden on fake fighting, you can pretty much do anything you want. So it's good for them.
Anything, if they can do it, anything is possible.
Anything is possible. Exactly.
So my next question for you, and if anybody in here still has more questions as you go, keep typing them in and I'll work them in as we go. You were won City Page's best new artist for this year. It was this year, right?
It was last year. It was 2019.
2019. So your face was everywhere across the Twin Cities, because
sure
anywhere you could find the City Page magazine, your face was on the cover of it everywhere.
It was crazy.
What did that mean for you?
I remember when they emailed me and told me that it had happened. Because they said, oh, we're doing photo shoots of everybody right now, just because you're an artist on the rise, so we want to do a photo shoot of you. I was like, okay, cool. Because they didn't tell me what it was for. They just said they wanted to do it, and I said okay, and I did a little thing, and then that was like months. It was like at least a month. So I was like, okay, cool. Maybe nothing came of it, and then all of a sudden they were like, oh, hey, you're gonna be City Page's Artist of the Year for this year. Here you go. And I was like, what? I was screaming around my apartment, and I was heading to work because I was still working at the time. I was heading to work, and then one of my band members, she texted me, and she's like, you're on the cover of City Pages, like on the actual thing. Like, I have one. And I was looking at it, I was like, what? And I turned around. I'm driving all around my neighborhood trying to find someplace that sells the City Pages because I wanted to see for myself. And I couldn't find it anywhere. And then I ended up driving. Like, I went to work. I did not go to work. I went to work. At the time, I was just like, and people kept texting me pictures like, Matt, you're everywhere. Like, faces all over the place. I finally managed to get a copy of the City Pages for myself. And I remember just freaking out. I was looking at it going like, this is a real magazine. This is a real thing that's on stands all over the place. And it was beyond anything I could have imagined for just a kid from Rosemont, Minnesota, that like was like a class clown for most of his school year, to like just be everywhere. And to hear some of my old teachers like message me and say that they were like how proud they were of what I did, it was this amazing experience and feeling that I would never trade for anything. So yeah, it's been a wonderful. I'm a little sad that we're now in 2020 and a new person's going to take over because I was having so much fun being the person, but that's okay. Everything must. I'm aware. I'm okay with it. But if they wanted to put a pause on putting a new person and just have me go for 2 years, I wouldn't be upset about it.
You should have made a championship belt and walked around with a championship belt.
I did that when I was in Shut Up and Rap. I actually had a championship.
Oh, that's awesome. Everything is made better when you add a championship belt to it. Like you have
take the time to make one. It doesn't matter what you make it out of.
Have a contest with your buddies. Yeah. Championship belt for it.
At home. Next time you open a jar that your parents can't open, you need to then run into your room, come back with a belt that you've made out of jar lids, and just put on your own entrance music and walk around the house because you are a champ. I feel like that's
the jar opening champ of the house.
Do it.
But that day when you had to hand it over to your parents because your parents out opened a jar from you is going to be a sad day.
And they deserve it. If they can do it, then they get the belt. That's just how it works. So you just find something in the house that you can do that with, and you'll have a blast every time. If you had a chore championship belt, people would be fighting to do chores if that means they can have a belt and be the best at it.
Kids are jumping off the table with the elbow to stop somebody from getting in the laundry basket because they want to fold it.
No one folds the laundry like me. I'm about it.
If I ever become a parent, I think we just found the hack to parenting.
That's the hack.
Championship belts.
If my fiance had a belt that she would wear and say that she was the champ, I would do probably more chores around the house. Because I'm like, hold up. That's a nice belt.
Oh, that I think we just found maybe I do a student of the month for our area where each class the students vote on their peer who they thought was the best student, and I don't say any criteria. They choose their own criteria. Whether it's hardest working, they helped out the most in the lab, they're the nicest. Whatever their criteria is, they get to choose for a student of the month. And I actually have trophies they get to take a picture with. So we take our picture and we have a bulletin board in the shop that we put their picture up for the month. Maybe it needs to be a belt instead of a trophy.
A big, heavy belt that they can it hefts. And they're like, yes, look at me. I'm the champ. You'd be surprised how quickly that it turns into it's a prize fight.
A prize fight. I'm going to ask the students next year if we need a trophy or we need a championship belt.
Yeah, ask them. I feel like you'd be surprised at the answer.
Another question I have for you is, how have people around you helped you succeed at a higher level? You've talked about how your grandpa inspired you. You have bandmates around you because when you perform, you actually have a full band with a brass and keys and a DJ all around you performing. You've talked about your fiance. How has the people around you helped you succeed at a higher level?
I think that having a group of people that actively support you and help you succeed is so essential in any business format, but in music especially, because your whole team, it's hard to do this all on your own. So I've had a lot of people that have been on my side, in my corner, helping me succeed since I started doing this. I think that, like, my fiance is great. She's always supported me in my music. If I would have still been working at my job like the whole time, if she hadn't told me, hey, no, you need to go and fight for this music career. Like, you have something, go and do that. People like Mr. Peter Parker, Augie 5000, a lot of people from the radio station that I worked with, speaking into my life, giving me advice. Hey, this you should try this, or hey, maybe do something like that, or hey, try something maybe in this direction, or talk to this person. Getting that kind of giving that kind of advice is so critical. And so having people in your life that you know will be able to speak to you and speak life into you is super important. So yeah, I've had so many people. My grandfather obviously helped change me into the person I am today. I have a lot of great friends and family that speak into my life, and yeah, having people that you trust enough to tell you to go left when you want to go right is important.
And that's sometimes hard to hear when you get, something in your head, and
Mm.
having that trust in people to realize that they're actually looking out for your best interest to say, "Hey, you need to go right here instead of left." That's a great point to make.
Yeah, and it's all about trust and respect. I mean, and they might not always be right, but but having the respect and trust in them to try, to just try and see if it's because you might still learn something, even if it turns out that you're going to do something different than what they told you. At least you tried, and you might learn something a little bit about yourself. That's happened to me with music. They'll be like, "Oh, hey, you should come harder with your music," and they're like, "Oh, you should talk about this." And I'm like, I don't really want to talk about this, but you know what? I could implement these things into the song without having to change who I am. And I feel like that's the kind of stuff that when you have people in your life that you allow to speak to you and allow to like just give you advice, it really does elevate. It elevates what you're doing.
I've told my students a few times, and I like to think about it in my head, that even learning about something you shouldn't do is just as valuable as learning about what to do.
Yo, that's true. It's so true.
I've met people throughout my life, just like you said, that have tried to advise you to go a certain way, and you look at it, and learning not to go that way is just as valuable as learning what way to go, because now you
Mhm,
realize, well, that's not really an option, but
mhm.
this is a better option.
Yeah, exactly.
My next question would be, if you could go back and give yourself three pieces of advice at a
Mhm.
younger age, what advice would you give your younger self?
How young are we talking? How young am I?
Middle school, high school?
Okay, three pieces of advice. Okay, if I was in middle school, my first advice I'd give to myself is don't be afraid to tell the people that you care about them. I feel like we live in a world now, but I lived in a world then where you could never really be sure who you were going to see the next day. Tomorrow is not promised to you. So take the time. And like as a dude, as a male identifying person, like a lot of times we're expected not to show affection towards the people we care about. We don't want to seem lame or oh yes, whatever, whatever. But like real talk, you don't want to have the last thing you said to a friend of yours be something mean or like something not interesting. I think, or something not heartfelt and real. So if you care about the people you care about, make sure you let them know. Make sure you take the time to do that. That's what I tell myself when I was younger. The second piece of advice I would say is start doing music early. And if you want to go to school, make sure you know what school you want to go to and why. Don't let anybody pressure you into going just to go. Like if you, especially for you guys in seniors of 2020, college is great. You learn a lot, but if you don't know why you're going or what you want to go for, you could end up spending a lot of money that you'll be paying back for the rest of your life on a decision that was not even close to something that you ended up doing. So take the time if you need to and really plan for it. Um, the last thing I would tell myself would be invest in YouTube, invest in all in Snapchat, YouTube, invest in all the things. If I could go back in time, I was like, there's gonna be this thing called TikTok. I know it sounds stupid. Just put as much money as in it you can. Get this money. That would be my last one. No, I would say realistically, if I could go back in time and tell my younger self, I'd say that you are a what you look like is wonderful. Don't compare yourself to other people. just because you feel like you don't look as handsome or as something as they are. Because when you're young, it seems like if you're even a little bit off of the norm, you're like this crazy, hideous monster beast. But that's not the truth. The truth is that you're fantastic and wonderful just the way you are. And as you get older, it becomes less and less of an issue. And even though it doesn't seem to help in the short term, just know that if you're confident and you're kind and you be yourself, people will love you and care about you and like you for who you are, even at the age that you're at. And don't let your own insecurities stop you from enjoying life. Those will be my things.
Those are three great pieces of information. And I really like how you talked about college and know the why. You know, find that why. You hear, I know many of my peers that went to a college because, well, they like the college. It's like, well, does it have the degree you want? No, but I like the college. It's like, but then what's the why of going there? So even if it's a 2-year, 4-year apprenticeship, finding that why am I going to apprenticeship to be a plumber? Well, I want to be a plumber in life, and that's the best route. I'm going to a 4-year because I want to be a journal major and write in the newspaper, and that's a great why. And I really like that you point that out. Finding that why is really important.
It's super important, and making sure you're taking the steps to best get you to where you're trying to go.
Another student had a question. He said, "Thank you for your time. What did you want to do for a career before getting into hip hop?"
So funny you mentioned that. I wanted to be a professional wrestler for a long time. After that, I had a tape made and I sent it out to Shawn Michaels Professional Wrestling School in Texas, in Austin, Texas. I sent it in. I was gonna send it in, but then I ended up going to school for music business instead. But that's something that I wanted to do. Outside of that, I remember there was a long time that I wanted to do acting. And I think that was a really cool desire of mine to try to be an actor. I knew that I always wanted to be an entertainer, but I didn't know exactly in what vein that I wanted to be. So yeah, those were like the things that I wanted to do outside of doing hip hop.
Did you make up a name for the audition tape and talk in the third person in the whole?
See, my character, well, you wanted to send in a couple things. You wanted to send in something of you as a face, so that would be a good guy. And you wanted to send something in as you a bad guy. And then you kind of like showed some physical attributes. I played football in high school and I did wrestling in middle school. So I had a little bit of, I was shaped differently than I'm shaped now. And I didn't have a third person because I didn't want to be too much like The Rock. But at the time, my bad guy persona's name was Kid Genius. And he was a wrestling genius. He was too smart. He was too smart for anybody to listen to anybody or do anything. And yeah, I liked it. And I drank Mountain Dew, but like Stone Cold would drink beer. So I had like Mountain Dew, and I would crack up.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, that was my persona. That was my bad boy persona. I would always want to be a bad guy wrestler as opposed to a good guy wrestler because I'm already nice. And if I was gonna pretend, I would rather pretend to be bad than pretend to be good because I'm already good.
That is awesome. That would be gold to see one day.
One of these days, I might bring them back for some stuff.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I can only imagine instead of with your Mountain Dew, you come out with a Mountain Dew truck and just spray it the whole stage with Mountain Dew.
I'm telling you, it had legs. It could have worked out. I decided to do music instead. The entire wrestling community is worse off for it. That's okay. We all have to make sacrifices.
And I think most of the crowd at a wrestling match would love to have the Mountain Dew.
Yeah,
like you throw Mountain Dew out in the crowd. That you would be people's favorite wrestler just because
Mountain Dew would love it. Mountain Dew would love it. I would love it. The wrestling fans would love it. The janitors would not. It'd be very tricky. But other than that, like everyone would have a great time.
Oh man, this would have been a lot of fun. I can only imagine.
One day, I might still bring it back. Who knows?
The WWE used to have the reality TV show. I think it was on MTV to make it as a wrestler. And some of the best part was people's audition tapes, like seeing their audition and like their characters they dream up, and it was so good.
But you have to be crazy physically fit to do that stuff. Like, you think that you are physically fit enough to do professional wrestling, and then you see what they have to do, and you're like, yo, never mind. Never mind.
I never had the inkling to climb a 12-foot ladder and then jump off of it onto somebody.
Off of it onto a table made of splintery wood. No, thank you.
No. My last question, because I really appreciate your time. This has been most fun. This has been most inspirational and uplifting, and I really think my students are really going to like this. It's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate your time.
That's what's up.
I see you as a quite successful person, how far you've come with your music career, and just, couple of years. I was still blown away by, a lot of bands can't make it that far in the few years that you did. So kudos to you on that. And how would you define your success, or how do you define what is success?
That's a good question. I find that success is defined as being able to look at yourself in the mirror and know that you've done the best you can with what you've had that day. And it might change from day to day, but knowing that you put the most effort into what you've done. So for me, did I take my time to practice? Did I take my time to write? Did I take my time to listen? Did I take my time to greet my fans? Did I take my time to come up with a plan for my next project? Have I taken all the hours of the day that have been given to me, and have I maximized them to their most potential? And if the answer is yes, then I find that day was a success. And if I can say yes throughout the week, more days than I didn't, then that week is a success. And if I could say that I did that more weeks out of the month, then that month it was a success. And then you go on and go on and go on until you look back at your life and say, I spent the majority of my life taking time to maximize every moment I could, whether that be in my relationships or my personal life or my business stuff or my art. That's how you determine success. Because you could make $1 billion every day and not be successful. You'd be wealthy. You'd be wealthy and you'd have a lot less issues. Don't get me wrong. I'll take the money, but you won't be successful overall. Because if nobody cares and if you don't care, then you're just making money. So being successful is knowing in your heart that you've done the best you can with what you've had that day. And if you have that mentality, you could be a billionaire, or you can be with an apartment in just like a regular place, or just a regular house with a white picket fence and people that love you, and you've been successful.
That is a great way to look at it. I really appreciate all your time today. I have really enjoyed this.
Yeah, this has been a blast. This has been so much fun.
I appreciate you being willing to do this to help our students during this tough time. I appreciate all the wisdom you have bestowed upon them.
Mm-hmm.
And I will post your link to your website and your Instagram on the Google Classrooms when I post this video.
Thank you very much.
And I'll suggest my students look up your music because it's that good.
Very nice of you. Thank you.
I've been working in the shop the last few days, cleaning it up at school, and I've been playing your music because it gets you going. It gets you.
That's right. We out here.
So thank you very much. Have a great weekend.
You too. Enjoy the weekend. Stay safe and find something interesting to do. Have an adventure. Make a belt.
Maybe I should just carry one around every day. Like go to the grocery store and be like, I did it.
I'm the champ of this grocery store. And people would be like, man, I want to be the champ.
They'd be envious. But I look forward to seeing that once we get out of this quarantine, to see you at your next concert.
Yes. I look forward to seeing you as well.
Have a great one.
You too.
Bye.
Peace.